Well, it would not be the Marathon Classic week without Claire Batista from the Claire Batista Golf Academy out at the Legacy by Arthur Hills, and that is where we are at right now. Claire, thanks for joining us today. Thanks for joining us all week. She'll be with us all week long in the studio, and it's a little bit different, but it does feel good to have the LPGA back in Northwest Ohio.
Oh, it's great, and I'm sure the women are so glad to be playing again in Toledo for 2 weeks in a row, which is great.
So let's talk a little bit about that drive-on championship last week at the Inverness Club, as Danielle Kang, the winner at 7 under par, 1 stroke better than Celine Boutier. And Danielle Kang, a major champion winner. She has been consistent on the tour, and she's coming into Toledo certainly with momentum coming off of the win at Inverness.
Absolutely, and she was saying how much she worked in the COVID off time on all parts of her game, and you could really see that. And Inverness was such a test for these women, and I mean, she did great. Celine, I mean, she missed a couple putts coming in. It could have been a playoff very easily.
And Celine, actually, during the time off, she played in some tournaments down in Texas and won them as well. So she's also playing with some confidence right now.
Right. You know, there were some different tours going on around the country, and then actually over in Korea, they were playing, their LPGA was playing. So there were some girls that didn't play that came in kind of rusty at Inverness, and then some that really had played quite a few tournaments. So it was really interesting to see the difference. You could tell there was some rust on some of those women out there last week.
Speaking of the Korean tour, because of the pandemic, a lot of the Asian players decided not to come back to the United States, not to go through the quarantine. So the defending champion of the Marathon Classic, S.Y. Kim, she is not back. In fact, there's only a handful of players that have won the Marathon Classic that are going to be in the field this year, which kind of gives it a little bit of an open field for this year's tournament.
It really does. You know, I always think Highland does maybe favor the longer hitter. Just because really 17 and 18 are par fives. It always makes the tournament so exciting coming in. So, you know, we were talking a little bit about Lexi Thompson. I would expect her maybe to be in the mix. I mean, I just think it's going to be exciting. I think, unfortunately, from a spectator standpoint, we're going to have to watch it on television. I'm really going to miss being out there.
Lexi was the runner-up last year. She played at Inverness. She's played at Inverness in years past. And the fact that you're going from Inverness, which is a long course, particularly for the women, you're going to Highland Meadows, which isn't as long of a course. So we're expecting to see some better scores this week than last week at Inverness. I think there's only 5 players under par at the Drive-On Championship, so we should see some better scoring at the Marathon.
Right. You know, I think so. And to the point of Inverness being longer, it's also tighter and with rough. They took so many trees out. It was really kind of interesting seeing the golf course, but the rough was very much a penalty. So a lot of the girls were not hitting driver off the tee at Inverness, but the holes were playing so long, and then with the rain, it was even longer. So that made it very difficult. At Highland, I don't think the rough will be as penalizing. So a lot of those girls will be able to hit driver. And then have shorter greens coming into the green, and then therefore probably having some lower numbers, like you said.
And I think one thing fans sitting at home watching the tournament are going to notice that might seem weird is you're going to see players on their phones, because there weren't leaderboards at Inverness, so players have had to use the phone, had to use the LPGA app in order to know where they were in terms of the leaderboard, where they were in terms of, that's how they were communicating with the players a lot of times during those rain delays as well. So that's one way that technology has changed the game of golf this year.
Right, and I think it's very helpful. Danielle King had mentioned in her interview that she looked at her phone to see where she stood, like on number 17. If you're in the lead and you are a scoreboard watcher, that would be very difficult to not know where you're at, because you do set up mentally different if you have a one-shot lead or if you're one shot back. So I guess they're not tweeting when you see them on their phone. They're actually looking at the scoreboard.
Now that you say that, we're going to see. There's going to be a player that's going to tweet during the round. We'll see that now. They've had a week to get used to playing without the fans. As they play this week at Highland Meadows, maybe one of the other changes is there's not as many Pro-Am, so they may not be as familiar with the Highland Meadows course this year as they have been in years past.
You know, and that's a great point. Highland Meadows has done a lot of their golf course, and it's absolutely beautiful. They redid all their bunkering. They took a lot of trees out on some particular holes, so the look is going to be very different. So hopefully the women will be able to get out. If they're not playing in a pro-am, at least play a practice round, because I think they're going to be surprised with the differences of Highland Meadows. All
right, thank you very much, Claire Batista from the Claire Batista Golf Academy. Again, she'll be with us all week long in studio, helping us break down all of the golf action from the Marathon Classic.